Much as Christians and Jews refer to their deity as God, the God of the Bible does have a name, Yahweh. This name appears over 6,800 times in the Old Testament and is generally translated as the Lord, in capitals, in English translations of the Bible. This disguises the name Yahweh and is no different from translating the Odyssey and replacing the name Zeus with a capitalized God or the Lord every time it appears. I say the God of the Bible's name is Yahweh, but that's technically only an educated guess. By around the 3rd century BCE, Jews decided that their God's name was so sacred that it should never be spoken and was replaced by the phrase Adonai, meaning Lord, when spoken or read. Yahweh is believed to be the most likely pronunciation based on Christian and Greek translations of the God's name from antiquity. Other earlier gods of the ancient Near East were also referred to as Lord. The chief sky god of Sumerian religion was Enlil. His name literally meant Lord Wind. Hadad was a Mesopotamian and Canaanite sky and storm god, who was often called Baal, meaning Lord. Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, also came to be called by the name Bel, meaning Lord. Yahweh wasn't the only god worshipped by the ancient Israelites. We know that they also worshipped the gods El and Baal and the goddess Asherah, as well as possibly others. Israelite inscriptions discovered from the monarchy onwards include 557 names with Yahweh as the divine element, 77 with El, and a handful with Baal. El was the chief Canaanite god, and he may originally have been the main deity of the Israelites too. The very name Israel contains the name of the god El. Yahweh absorbed many features of the earlier Canaanite deity El. El was described as the creator of creatures in the Baal cycle, a role Yahweh later went on to fulfill in the Bible. The other gods of the Canaanite pantheon were called the Circle of El, the Assembly of the Stars, and the Circle of the Throne of Heaven. El was depicted as sitting at the centre of his heavenly circular assembly, sometimes upon his holy mountain Lel. Yahweh was similarly described in the Psalms. God takes his stand in the assembly of the gods. He gives judgment in the middle of the gods. Evidence from the Bible itself also may suggest that the Israelites originally worshipped El, but he was later absorbed into the new chief god Yahweh. The book of Exodus states, "And God said to Moses, I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as El Shaddai, but I didn't make myself known to them by my name Yahweh." In ancient Greece, the Homeric hymns similarly mention a council of the gods and an assembly on snowy Olympus. The Odyssey similarly states, "The gods sat down in council, circling Zeus the Thunder King, whose power rules the world." We find the same description in the Iliad. Zeus the Thunderer made an assembly of all the gods upon the highest peak of rugged Olympus. We also find this motif in Mesopotamian religion. In Sumerian religion, the sky god An also sat on his celestial throne with a divine council of gods around him. The Old Testament regularly describes Yahweh as a sky and storm god, very similar to Baal Hadad, Zeus, and numerous other sky and storm gods from the ancient world. Genesis states that he is Yahweh, the god of the sky. The book of Job states of the biblical God, "He fills his hands with thunderbolts and launches them to strike the target. His thunder heralds the coming storm." The book of Jeremiah similarly describes Yahweh with, "When he thunders, the waters in the sky roar. He raises the clouds from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings the winds out of his storehouses." Zeus was usually depicted in art and described in literature as wielding a thunderbolt. The Homeric hymns describe the king of the gods as Zeus the loud thunderer and Zeus the thunder lover. The Iliad describes Zeus as Zeus who thunders on high and Zeus that throws the thunderbolt. Hesiod called Zeus the thunderer whose home is on high. The Orphic hymns describe Zeus in a very similar fashion to the biblical depiction of Yahweh as a sky and storm god who controls the cosmos. "Father Zeus, sublime is the course of the blazing cosmos you drive on. Ethereal and lofty the flash of your lightning as you shake the seat of the gods with a god's thunderbolt. The fire of your lightning emblazons the rain clouds. You bring storm and hurricanes. You bring mighty gales. You hurl roaring thunder, a shower of arrows. Horrific might and strength sets all aflame. Yahweh, Zeus and Baal also all rule from a holy mountain. probably representing the North Celestial Pole. In Baal's case, the mountain is Mount Zaphon, which literally means the mountain of the far north. In Yahweh's case, it's Mount Zion, while Zeus's home is Mount Olympus. Sky and storm gods often fought dragons in their mythology. Baal Hadad fought a serpent called Litan, which became Yahweh's foe Leviathan in the Bible. Zeus likewise fought Typhon. The Mesopotamian storm god Tishpak was another similar deity. He was both a storm god and a warrior god who was titled Lord of the Armies, just like Yahweh. He was also linked to a snake dragon. The Hittite god Tahuna is another sky and storm god from the ancient Near East with a similar mythology to Yahweh and Baal. One of his main stories was his battle with the dragon Ilyanka, and he was also a warrior god known as the Lord of Hosts and King of Heaven. The Sumerians worshipped a similar storm god called Ishkur. Enki in the World Order describes him as he who rides on the great storms, who attacks with lightning bolts. In Vedic Indian religion, Indra is another similar deity who fights the dragon Vritra. The Rig Veda states of Indra, he killed the dragon on the mountain with roaring thunderbolt. In Norse mythology, Thor defeated the Midgard serpent Jormungand. Yahweh was also the royal god of the kings of Judah. These kings were the anointed of Yahweh, technically the original messiahs. This royal theology was common in the ancient Near East. In the Babylonian and Assyrian empires, the chief gods Marduk and Ashur were linked to the king. In Egypt, Horus was the original royal patron deity, though later Amun took that role, and pharaohs were also considered to be the sons of the solar god Re. Ancient Near Eastern kings were often depicted as sons of a major god. In the Bible, the Psalms describe the king of Judah as Yahweh's son. Yahweh was also a warrior god. His bellicose nature is clearly spelled out in the book of Exodus, where we are told Yahweh is a warrior, Yahweh is his name. He is also called Yahweh of the armies 287 times in the Old Testament, but this is translated as the Lord of the hosts, or the Lord Almighty in most English translations, covering up Yahweh's bellicose nature. These armies were probably believed to be celestial in nature. Numbers 21:14 also mentions a now lost piece of Israelite scripture called the Book of the Wars of Yahweh. In the Book of Judges, Yahweh gets involved in a battle himself. We are told he routs the army of Sisera, a Canaanite commander. Many deities of the ancient Near East were viewed as powerful warriors, mirroring the image the kings wanted to project of themselves. In ancient Sumer, the deities Inanna, Nergal and Ninurta were all warrior deities. Assyria was the main powerhouse of the region during the existence of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Its all-conquering army was known as the hosts of the god Assur. Yahweh didn't begin life as the universal god modern Christians and Jews believe him to be. He was originally an ancient storm, sky and warrior god who became the patron god of the royal family of two small Iron Age kingdoms of Israel and Judah.